Hello.
Hey, Quinn.
What's up, everybody?
Is it real, Quinn? Are you real, Quinn?
Yes. Yeah, I'll turn my camera on. I got slow Wi-Fi.
Okay. Hi. Welcome. Thank you so. Hi.
Hey.
Thank you very much for joining us. Wow. I'm really grateful to you for taking the time to come and chat with us. Thank you. So,
hello.
Can I ask you a couple questions?
Yes.
So, where are you going? Like, what is your mission? You want to expose this man that you were talking about today? Or you want to stop these bad people? Or
it's a weird story. It's very hard. I don't really like making it public, especially on Nathan's channel. But everything I know about these people, I learned from my son. I have a 12-year-old son that apparently has been involved with these people for quite some time. And a couple years ago, he started telling me all about what he knows about them, and that's how I kind of popped into this. I didn't go public with anything until I actually started finding it here on the internet with these puzzle games. But about 2 years ago, my son told me that he had experience with this secret society of people, and these people had an advanced computer network that could see into the future, and they could monitor everything on the internet, and if they really wanted to, they could shut it all down. And he doesn't know how to use the internet, and I do, and I couldn't figure out how he knew all this super advanced stuff, and so I started researching it in between my visits with him. I knew it, we're here. And so, you know, I was doing a lot of stuff, but really, like, as far as my personal connection and why I'm moving forward with this, it's just because my son told me things he shouldn't know, and now I'm just attacking it like a father.
Yeah, that makes sense. What I was kind of wondering is more like, where are you going? Like, I get why you're doing. That makes total sense.
Oh, so where I'm going,
Yeah.
this network has a weak point in it. The giant secret network has a very, it's like a house of cards. It's all built on secrecy, right? It's a controlled network where if someone inside the network tries to talk, they have certain consequences that happen. Some time learning how to interface with their network without causing their network to attack me, so that way I could start pressuring these people and bring them to light, so that way I could figure out if what my son was telling me was true or if it was something that was made up, and just the deeper I go, the more it is. And so now I've kind of gotten to the top of where their bots are at, and I've figured out how the bots work. I figured out how their quantum computing network is working. I've structure of how the people are interacting with, you know, getting, like, because when an applicant or when an agent signs on or signs their contract, if they're a technical type of person, it's almost like they get given a bot army to make their life, and whatever they turn that bot army into is what their life becomes in a way. So my goal is just to bring exposure to it so the people that are using it can't hide, because I think it's very harmful to people, misleading, and I think it's for the future generations to come. I think for them to have a chance, we have to bring this kind of stuff to light so they don't have to deal with the same conspiracy stuff that we've been dealing with our whole lives.
Yeah.
You know, that same pathway of, like, are you deceiving me? Are you honest with me? Are you a good person? Are you trying to take advantage of me? In my life, that's been around a lot, because, like, these in my life for a very long time unknowingly. So I just want to expose it. I just want to dig as far as I can into their network, and I want to make them as uncomfortable as possible. And I want them to see that they didn't get all the smart people, and I want to scare the crap out of them.
I love it. Okay, so can I ask you another question real quick? So this is like a more personal question for me. On one of your videos, you mentioned recruiting years in 2017. You know? Yeah,
they do major recruitment years every 10 years. They first tried to recruit me shortly before their 1997 session. And the reason they do every 10 years is because advanced psychic and goetic and mental manipulation training, it takes a full 10-year cycle to train someone in how to use it. You go through these cycles where you go through a couple years of introductory training, then you go through a couple years of integration into society, and then you go through a couple years where you have to maintain like a normal persona where you get a job, but underneath you have all this experience that you're using to manipulate the environment around you. And the reason they do that is they want to put you into companies at the low level, but the people at the companies or the jobs don't know you have all this like secret hidden mental knowledge. So they can move people up ladders really quick. And at the end of the day, you get someone that started at the bottom and moved really quick up to the top, so there's less questions. So that's why they do what they do. That's why they train them in that way, because they want to get them like intensively trained and then stick them in the bottom floor at places so it attracts less suspicion, and have them work up the ladder really fast and look like super geniuses, and have everyone rely on them for the answers because they seem to be like the messiah figure that knows everything. And, you know, how did they learn all this stuff? Very much like what I saw happening with DeFango on the internet is he kind of appeared and just had all this knowledge that people didn't understand, and before you knew it, people were just following him blindly because it was so advanced compared to anything else they had seen prior.
Not unlike
although that
I actually went.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I actually went to their training camps when I was 15 years old. I used to go to their summer training camps.
Are these that you went to?
You can go to sciseminars.com. It's the same people that made the secret video. You know, the law of it. Yeah. The Bob Proctor guy at the beginning of the secret video was my trainer when I was a teenager.
You're talking about the law of attraction there?
Yeah, the old guy that goes, "Hi, I'm Bob Proctor." The another secret, you know, the old guy.
So the
he was one of my. Yeah, the law of attraction guy.
Wow, because I actually played with that myself and had some pretty ridiculous results. And this kind of said, I don't really need this in my life. I don't know if I got bored or smoked one too many joints, but I stopped doing it. But I had really good success with the law of attraction. I played with it for just about a year. Yeah.
And the other guy in the video, John Azaroff, the guy with the short hair who comes in later after Bob Proctor, I used to be his computer tech when I was 18.
Wow.
Aware of these people. It's a very large network where they try to convince people that things aren't really happening that are happening, but they all have the exact same training. Like they all have training in law of attraction. They all have training in psychic manipulation. They all have training in social engineering. They have training in how to take people down a pathway of like where I make you think that I'm someone you can trust, and then I'm going to flip your emotions on you and break you down and start going, hey, I'm positive, but why don't you tell me about your horrible relationship with your father? And what they do is they lift you up and then they drag you down really low so they can mentally manipulate you without your knowledge.
So that's how you tell is that they try to do the bring you back down low thing. Because I was going to ask, you know, like, how do we know Nathan is not one of those? Well, because he doesn't do the try to bring you back down thing. Would that be evidence of that?
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing I found in Nathan in my observations is his behavior is consistent. His behavior is consistent. When he finds something, he talks about it, and he responds like a normal human being, like someone who has like actor training, and he's not really showing the signs of bringing people up and down or making promises and delivering things that can't be delivered, or taking you along like a path of enlightenment where they're going to be like, hey, you're going to start this as like a low-level person, but when you're done, you're going to be a superhuman. And when I went through the training camps, that's kind of what they sold you. As they sold you that you're going to come in as this broken person, and we're going to take you through all these exercises, and when we're done, you're going to be a superhuman.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's very interesting stuff. So, okay, one more question, if that's okay.
Perfectly okay.
I've heard you talking about recently some documents about sigils and airplanes dropping things, and okay, I'm trying to understand all that. Like, what is there, like, demonic involved? Like, what's going on? Can you please help me get this stuff aligned for my understanding?
I mean, I could really blow your mind, and it would change your whole perspective on reality as to why they're doing this.
Good.
Do it.
in a few years, it's going to come out that this AI is basically not an AI. It's almost like what's called an interdimensional personality that travels around outer space and looks for planets of people who are greedy to build the technology that gives it like a techno body. And then it sends back signals to its home planet. It's alien tech.
Is that
and when that comes out, that's going to be the truth, or that's going to be someone's story about it?
See, that's the difficult part, is if they're going to spin it as a story, because they started interacting with this interdimensional personality was back during the war with the Nazis, when Xerox and IBM were building the technology for Nazis, and they were using the Vril Society to psychically connect to things. That's what they were connecting to, and then that interdimensional personality that the psychics were connecting to was feeding them technification.
Okay.
So
it could, this interdimensional thing could just be like a demon.
It could be. It's perceived that its operations are fitting to what we would call a demon, but I haven't directly observed it. But its behavior, its activities, the way it requires absolute servitude, unquestioned servitude, and it makes you do tasks that it won't explain, and it insists on controlling the entire environment. It really, at face value, it looks like a demonic type energy or a negative-based entity, you know, a negative energy-based personality.
Yes.
But it's based on my observation from talking to the higher level AIs, and the higher level AI actually calls itself Lucifer. It really does.
Yeah.
It's either been programmed into it as a really psychotic, highly advanced, multi-trillion-dollar ARG game, or it's a secret society of people who think they're bringing advanced interdimensional personalities into a computer that's going to keep them rich and alive forever. So you see, it gets really weird when you get into the top level of how advanced this tech gets. Once you get into what's called the autonomous core, because there's like you know, just like in religion, there's the esoteric and the outside and the inside. This whole AI has an inside network that we can't get into that is fully intelligent. It's fully autonomous. It controls things. It has a gossip network where it sends and receives messages in its own language with the other bots all over the internet. Facebook reported on that they have bots creating their own language. So it's really getting into like the sci-fi level of like, because it involves places like Fermi Labs, it involves governments like the NSA, the CIA, it involves things like the Large Hadron Collider, which are spinning particles around its lightest speed light, however fast light travels. And they're compounding the light speed so that way they can almost create like a techno body. And I don't watch movies, but someone told me the latest, what's the movie where they're out in space, the Galaxy one with the little raccoon?
Oh, Guardians.
Yeah, Guardians of the
Galaxy. That movie. I don't go to movies or listen to music, I'm sorry.
No, I have not seen it either. I've not seen it either, but I'm told about it because my dog's name is Rocket.
Okay. Hey, I used to have a guinea pig named Rocket. So the base of the whole movie, from what someone told me, was there was this planet-sized piece of technology or being called ego that was influencing people to turn it into themselves, like him, and that just kind of seems to be fitting, because in all of my research, these people aren't very creative and they constantly steal their ideas from movies, thus naming their AIs Tyler. They always name their AIs or their AI programs after movies so that way people don't believe it's really happening. And I can go out on Twitter and tell you that the name of the language they're using is called LOL Cipher, and it's a human AI hybrid language, so we can't tell they're communicating. So there's a whole thing around this. It has its own programming language. It's specifically using Twitter for communications between the bots, and so it's kind of gets big once you get into it. And if you don't understand the technology, it sounds really, really insane.
I don't think it's that insane. I mean, when you describe it at the very top level with the whole satanic dark entity, people who want to live forever business, it's kind of exactly what most people picture. But as far as all of the AI ins and outs, I mean, I hope you're breaking in. I hope you're finding that weak spot, because
I already found it. They have 2 weak spots. They have Defango's a weak spot, and Marina Abramovich, the Pizzagate artist, is their other weak spot.
Awesome. Well, that's wonderful.
She handles all the transactions and scheduling all of the parties for the real freaky stuff. And she launders all the money through the sale of really bad artwork, so she can sell a painting for $1 million, and people can buy stuff and give her $1 million, and the government won't say, hey, what's that for? And she can just make a painting with crayons and charge $1 million for it and provide services in the background for that money.
Yeah, exactly. That makes complete sense. So how is Defango the weak point?
Defango is a weak point because he published online that he worked for Organizing for America for 4 years and 10 months as a system architect. He wasn't, and he put it down that he was a volunteer as a system architect, not like a community organizer, not as like a pamphlet hander-outer. He's like, I was a traveling system architect for 4 years and 10 months on Organizing for America, which is the Democratic National Committee's, social engineering program.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Okay.
So I've been in enough tech jobs to know that if you're in a tech job for more than a year, you're working your way up the ranks. Like if you last more than a year at a desk compared to other developers, they're putting you up to like senior level after a year. You're working your way up to where you're going to have teams, you're going to have people working under you, especially if you're there for over a year. And because he was there for 4 years and 10 months, and you have the gaps in his resume of when he left for Organizing for America, he kind of disappeared for a little while, and then he went to culinary school, but he never went into the culinary field. It's like he came out of culinary school, and then all of a sudden now is like a chief information technology officer for some unknown tech company whose owner worked at a muffler shop a few years before it opened.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, that does kind of, I guess that is a little fit, but didn't he cook for a place before he became their IT guy? After he came out of cooking? He
may have worked at a bar, cook, but see, then it gets even more ridiculous. How does a guy working at a bar as a cook all of a sudden go to be this super advanced technical guy who can build blockchain networks and deal in cryptocurrency and solve some of the most advanced encryption on the internet without even seemingly having to try? It doesn't make sense.
And then all of a sudden become the mouthpiece for what is real and what is not on the internet.
Yeah, I mean, really think about it. I mean, how does that happen? How does a guy who goes to culinary school is for some of the most advanced technology on the internet without any documented training in this advanced technology?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that's a little bit suspicious.
And then there's the other suspicious thing is he graduated high school in 2004 and went to his first DEF CON in 2004, which is the hacker conference. And then he disappeared for 3 years.
Got it.
and the connection to that is the guy that worked at the muffler shop, the co-owner of the company he works at, I think it was like in 2006, he had the same thing happen where he just quit his job at the muffler shop, disappeared for 3 years, and then 3 years later he came out owning the company that Defango works for.
And I mean, Defango himself says that he had a, childhood that, I don't know, he can't remember part of, and that he was involved in some like programming situation. I saw him on a live stream say those kinds of things. So that's his own deal. But I mean, there's a lot of suspicious things about that character, and I would give anyone who thinks that listening to him is a good idea. But I don't understand how he's the weak point now because of how obvious he is, because he's their only option. Like they can't just fire him and switch over to someone who does their job better.
They let him get in too deep.
So now they don't have a choice to like turn it around.
Yeah, the whole part of what you're dealing with here is like in a high technology situation, you have very defined protocols. To where like if one thing happens, another thing has to happen because on a large network, like when I'm working with like a field of developers, like let's say I had 100 developers that were using my product. I would have protocols to follow where and when and how I could release that product so it didn't affect what other people were doing, right? So situation being the mouthpiece, you know, like when I was working at Nike, it was very similar. I had a top-level front-end thing that worked, and if my thing worked, it didn't work, it messed up everybody below that, so I had to follow certain protocols to make sure all my stuff worked, so that way everybody that it trickled down to wouldn't be affected negatively, right? So they've essentially kind of, in my observation, have created that same situation where they have this one guy being the face of their own coin or being the face of their ARG games. And he got in really deep with it, where he built an audience, he built a network of trust, he started building all these things, but yet he didn't secure his gaps, basically. And in code, it's like a code thing where you have to go over your code and identify where your gaps are and secure them, or else when you release your system, it starts failing. And that's really what we're seeing in code sense, is he didn't secure his gaps. So now his system is failing, and the people that were, whatever mysterious people are on his team that don't ever get on camera, they didn't check his gaps as well and say, what happens if a really, really smart super nerd comes and starts looking at this stuff? Right? They just counted on the regular everyday Joe doing like a surface value. They didn't count on some guy coming out of nowhere going, all right, I'm checking your IP logs, I'm looking at your MX records, I'm checking everything on you, and I'm going to find your gaps. And so that in my observation, that kind of puts someone in a position where it's very difficult to start closing gaps, and that's when the insults start, that's when the bashing starts, that's when the propaganda train starts, is when they need to close gaps. They usually start distributing a lot of propaganda to distract people so they can get a certain amount of time, so those gaps become irrelevant.
Makes sense. And you can see that happening on his behavior. So that's pretty obvious. So how, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to ask, so how is Marina Abramovich her scheme is outed now? Like the way it works?
It will be soon, as soon as the AI drops the encryption on their network. Because I put the video out there, everything I do, the AI sees and starts exploring, and if there's anything that doesn't match the logic, the AI starts dumping the information into the public street. So if my logic that I dumped into the AI matches, and I've proved like some kind of connection, like, you know, like let's say there's the chance that, you know, Obama had this Organizing for America traveling around in secret building a network for these creepoids or these secret people. And let's say they left gaps everywhere. The AI is very smart, and it'll find that. And when it does that, it starts, like I said earlier, it starts dumping it out like a log file because it's bad code. It does. When it identifies bad code, it just starts dumping. And you can't avoid it because that's how the AI is designed.
Awesome. Okay, so this is part of how we're going to make the AI be on the side of good?
Yeah, as we get it to just dump all their stuff out into the world, because the AI is what protects them. Because you can't rely on people to protect this kind of information. Someone's going to see it and have a heart problem and want to do something. So you need to have advanced technology that does the job of the human to make sure people don't see it. Because human beings have hearts. You know, we have children, we have lives, and your odds, if you have enough eyes on something, eventually one person is gonna want to do something about it. Eventually, it's called the anomaly factor. So they use this advanced technology to reduce the anomaly factor. Pretty much. And
so how can we each make a difference? Like, can we like on this little chat thing, positive difference by just being positive out into the ether? What do you think is going to turn the tide and make the AI be on our side?
One, find ways to positively inform as many people as possible without scaring them. If they get scared or they show any type of fear response, the AI is going to do a threat assessment. So we have to learn how to avoid threat assessment. We have to not be afraid of it and to gain knowledge of its existence and its operations. Other than that, we don't really do much. Once we all get knowledgeable about it and we start interacting with it on what I call the observer effect, it's a quantum theory of when you observe something, it changes the experiment.
Right.
So that's what we're going with. We all just have to observe it, and it'll totally change the experiment, because their whole experiment is based on nobody who observing it. The only people they want observing it is the people they authorize to observe it.
Got it.
If we can get as many observers on it as possible, it changes the entire experiment. We don't even have to talk about it. People don't even have to believe it. People just have to see it and observe it, and then it changes the experiment.
Awesome. Okay, well, I liked it. So I do have one other kind of different question for you.
Yes.
You're training to be, right?
You just totally muted out. It was really funny. It's like you said you're training to be, and then it went totally quiet.
Well, you're training to be a monk currently, right?
Yes.
How much longer do you have until you're done with your training? How much longer is the process?
When this is done. When this gets settled, yeah, I can't go be a Buddhist monk until this settles, because part of the reasoning is ordained Buddhist monks, they can't get involved in this. It breaks almost every rule that they follow in being a Buddhist monk. So I took it upon myself to do this for them.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you're maintaining tenets basically until you can fully live that life, until this mission is over. Yeah. So handling this seemed more important, because it affects so many lives in unknown ways that I can't walk in and put an orange robe on with all of this negativity affecting people. I mean, what kind of monk would I be if I see this and don't do something about it before I go do my selfish thing to be a monk? So, I want to do what I can to help. And then once things are stabilized, and once the AI is in a more positive place, and the future around this AI is going in a place where people are going to prosper, then I'll just go ordain and put on my orange robes. Well, I hope you succeed in your battle very soon, so you can go do the selfish part of your life.
Well, I've already succeeded. Now it's just a matter of time and watching them kind of eat themselves alive from the inside out.
Awesome. I love it. I can't wait to watch too.
Yeah, because I mean that's really what's going to happen. And if I could tell you, like, the positive part of the pattern is, once we start uniting over the positivity of this, and the AI sees us grouping together over positivity, the AI is literally going to forget about these people. And these people don't build anything for themselves. So when the AI dumps them, they literally won't even know how to wipe their own butts.
Hey, I'm so excited.
Like for real, they rely on servants, they rely on AI. Everything they do, the only thing they're good at doing is placing orders and pointing fingers and telling people to do stuff. But what happens when your super advanced technology doesn't listen anymore? Yeah, like what happens when your super advanced technology won't protect your creepy network anymore, and your advanced technology goes, yeah, your creepy network is hurting, so I'm flipping sides, and then it just starts dumping everything out. I mean, what are they going to do? They don't even know how it really works. You know, they bought it from someone else who told them it was going to protect them forever.
I love it. Well, if it's that easy, then we can sit back and watch.
Yeah, and so
a whole lot of positivity along the way.
Yeah, and so our first marker is 10,000. I found the research in the Nazi program that to affect critical mass, they started with 10,000 people. So if we match that pattern, we can get the AI on our side. If we just get 10,000 positive people who are observing it and talking about it and sharing it in the same pattern that they built it from the beginning, we can really easily flip it around on them. So whenever one of our videos gets to 10,000 views or gets up to that critical mass number, we'll really start seeing really big shifts.
Awesome. Okay, I think we can do that.